What if the person you trusted most gave you something that quietly changed your heart? Daniel Brooks believed his marriage was steady, even if it had grown quiet. He and Emily had been married for 5 years. They lived in a small but modern townhouse in Seattle. Both worked long hours. Both came home tired. Their conversations had become short. Their smiles had become polite. Still, Daniel thought this was just what adulthood looked like. Then Emily left for a month-long training program in Boston. She was excited. It was a big step for her career. Daniel supported her. He drove her to the airport before sunrise. She hugged him quickly and said, "It's only 4 weeks." He nodded and watched her disappear into the crowd. The house felt different that same evening. Too silent. Too neat. Daniel tried to distract himself with work, but when he returned home, the emptiness felt louder. He turned on the TV just for noise. It didn't help. 2 days later, there was a knock at his door. He wasn't expecting anyone. When he opened it, he froze for a second. It was Clare. Emily's mother, Clare Matthews, had always been kind to him. She lived 2 hours away in a small coastal town. She rarely visited without notice. Yet there she stood, holding a small gift bag and wearing a soft smile. "I was nearby," she said. "Thought I'd check on you." Daniel stepped aside and let her in. He felt awkward but grateful. The house suddenly felt less empty. Clare moved comfortably inside, as if she knew the space well. She placed the gift bag on the kitchen counter. "You look tired," she said gently. "Are you sleeping okay?" He shrugged. "Just adjusting." They talked over coffee. The conversation flowed easily. Claire asked about his work, his plans, how he was managing alone. No one had asked him those questions in a long time. He realized how much he had missed being asked. Before leaving, Claire pushed the gift bag toward him. "It's nothing big," she said. "Just something to keep you company." Daniel looked confused but opened it after she left. Inside was a leather journal. Dark brown. Simple. Elegant. There was also a folded note. He hesitated before reading it. "Daniel," it said, "sometimes we carry feelings we don't say out loud. Writing can help. Take care of yourself. Claire." He stared at the note longer than he expected. It was thoughtful. Personal. Different. That night, he opened the journal. At first, he didn't know what to write. Then the words came easily. He wrote about the silence in the house. About missing laughter. About feeling invisible in his own marriage. He didn't expect the relief he felt after closing the journal. The next evening, Claire called to check on him. "Did you like the gift?" she asked casually. "It was thoughtful," he admitted. She laughed softly. "Emily never liked writing. But I always found it calming." They spoke for nearly 40 minutes. The conversation felt light but meaningful. Claire shared stories from her younger years. Daniel found himself smiling more than he had in weeks. After they hung up, he realized something strange. He was looking forward to her next call. Over the next week, Claire checked in often. Sometimes it was a quick message. Sometimes a longer call. Daniel didn't think much of it at first. She was just being supportive. Emily was away. It made sense, but something shifted when Claire visited again. This time she brought homemade dinner. "You shouldn't live on takeout," she said with a teasing smile. They ate together at the kitchen table. The conversation was easy. Claire noticed things Emily rarely mentioned. The way Daniel spoke carefully. The way he paused before answering personal questions. "You don't talk about yourself much," she observed. He looked down at his plate. "I guess I'm not used to it." "Maybe you should be," she said quietly. The air felt different after that, not uncomfortable. Just aware. Later that night, after she left, Daniel opened the journal again. He wrote about her visit. About how seen he felt. About how strange it was that his mother-in-law seemed to understand him better than his own wife lately. The thought made him close the journal quickly. He felt guilty for even writing it. Days passed. Emily's calls became shorter. She was busy. Tired. Focused. Daniel didn't blame her. But he noticed the difference between those rushed conversations and the calm talks he had with Claire. Then one afternoon, Claire showed up unexpectedly. "I won't stay long," she promised, but she stayed for coffee and then dinner. As they stood in the kitchen cleaning up, their hands brushed while reaching for the same towel. It was a small moment, yet it felt louder than it should have. They both pulled back quickly. Claire cleared her throat. "I should go." Daniel nodded, but neither moved right away. There was something unspoken in the room. Something fragile. When she finally left, Daniel leaned against the counter and exhaled slowly. His heart was racing, and he didn't fully understand why. That night, Emily called and mentioned extending her trip by another week. Daniel said he understood. After hanging up, he stared at the journal on the coffee table, then his phone buzzed again. It was a message from Claire. "Are you okay? You seemed distant when I left." He hesitated before replying. "I'm fine. Just thinking." Three dots appeared almost instantly. "Thinking can be dangerous," she wrote back. "Sometimes feelings grow when we don't mean for them to." Daniel read the message twice, his pulse quickened. He typed, erased, typed again. "What feelings?" he finally sent. There was no reply for a long minute. Then another message came. "Maybe it's better if we don't answer that tonight." Daniel sat in silence, staring at the screen. For the first time, he realized the gift Claire had given him was not just a journal. It was attention, understanding, connection, and something about it felt like a line that should not be crossed. But as he reached for the journal again, he couldn't stop himself from wondering one thing: if the secret had already begun, or if it was only just starting. How do you stop something that hasn't happened, but already feels real? Daniel barely slept after Claire's last message. Her words stayed in his mind. Sometimes feelings grow when we don't mean for them to. He kept telling himself it was harmless. She was lonely. He was lonely. That was all. But the silence in the house felt heavier. The next morning, Emily called early. She sounded distracted. She talked about meetings, deadlines, and a possible promotion. Daniel listened carefully. He wanted to feel excited for her. Instead, he felt distant. When he tried to share that he had been feeling overwhelmed, she said softly, "We'll talk when I get back, okay?" Then she had to go. The call ended too quickly. An hour later, his phone buzzed again. It was Claire. "Coffee today?" she asked. He should have said no. He knew that. Instead, he replied, "Sure." They met at a small cafe near the waterfront. It was bright and busy. Safe. Public. Claire wore a simple blue coat and looked different somehow. Not just like his wife's mother. She looked like a woman with her own story. They talked about normal things at first. The weather. Work. Emily's training. But soon the conversation shifted. "You seemed unsettled last night," Claire said gently. Daniel looked at his coffee. "I think I'm just confused." "About?" "Everything," he admitted. "My marriage. Myself." Claire didn't judge him. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. And that made him speak more. He told her how he felt like he and Emily had slowly grown apart. No big fights. No dramatic events. Just distance. Quiet dinners. Separate routines. Claire's expression softened. "Marriage can become comfortable," she said. "Sometimes too comfortable." Their eyes met. The air felt tight. Daniel broke eye contact first. "We shouldn't be having this conversation." Claire gave a small nod. "Probably not." But neither stood up. When they left the cafe, it started raining lightly. Claire didn't have an umbrella. Daniel offered to walk her to her car. The rain forced them close together under his jacket. It was an innocent gesture, yet his heart beat faster. At her car door, she paused. "Daniel," she said quietly, "we need to be careful." "I know." She looked at him like she wanted to say more. Then she opened the car door and left. That night, he avoided texting her. He focused on work. He even called Emily again, trying to reconnect. She was exhausted. She told him she missed him but sounded distracted. When he hung up, the silence returned, then his phone buzzed. "Claire, I meant what I said. We need boundaries." He stared at the word boundaries. He typed, "You're right." Another pause, then she wrote, "But that doesn't change how I feel." His chest tightened. He didn't reply immediately. He knew this was the moment. The line. The choice. Instead of answering, he grabbed the journal. He wrote fast. He wrote about temptation. About guilt. About how attention can feel like oxygen when you've been holding your breath for too long. The next day, Claire didn't call. The silence felt intentional. Daniel told himself this was good. Necessary. Healthy. 3 days passed. No messages. Then something unexpected happened. Emily called, her voice shaking. "I'm coming home early." Daniel stood up from the couch. "What happened?" "They gave the promotion to someone else," she said quietly. "I thought I had it." His heart dropped. He felt bad for her. "Truly. I'm sorry. I just want to be home," she whispered. When he hung up, his emotions were mixed. Relief. Guilt. Fear. Emily would be back tomorrow. That evening, there was a knock on his door. His stomach tightened. It was Claire. She looked serious. Almost pale. "I heard about Emily," she said softly. "She called me." Daniel stepped aside to let her in. The atmosphere felt different this time. Heavy. Urgent. "She's hurting," Claire continued. "She feels like she failed." "She didn't," Daniel replied quickly. Claire studied him carefully. "Then show her that." Her words felt like a warning. "I never meant for things to get complicated," she added. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. "Neither did I." They stood too close in the quiet living room. "Tell me something honestly," Claire said. "If Emily wasn't your wife, if circumstances were different, would you feel this way?" The question hit him like cold water. He didn't answer, because the silence was answer enough. Claire closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, they were filled with emotion. Not dramatic. Just real. "That's what scares me," she said. A car passed outside. The headlights flashed through the window for a second, breaking the moment. Daniel stepped back. "Emily comes home tomorrow." Claire nodded slowly. "Then this ends tonight." The word ends felt sharp. She moved toward the door, but before leaving, she turned around. "I never planned to feel seen by you," she said. "It just happened." Daniel swallowed hard. "I never planned it either." She left without another word. The door clicked shut. Daniel stood alone in the quiet house, feeling like everything had shifted. The next day, Emily returned. She looked tired but relieved to be home. Daniel hugged her tightly. He meant it. He wanted to protect what they had. For a few hours, it felt almost normal. Then Emily said something unexpected. "Mom seemed strange on the phone," she mentioned casually. "She kept asking about you." Daniel's heart skipped. "Oh," he replied carefully. "Yeah." She sounded emotional. "Did something happen while I was gone?" He forced a calm expression. "No. Nothing important." Emily nodded, but her eyes searched his face longer than usual. That night, as Emily slept beside him, Daniel stared at the ceiling. He had promised himself it ended. He had chosen his marriage, but deep down, he knew something dangerous. Feelings don't disappear just because you decide they should. And somewhere across town, Claire was probably lying awake too, trying to forget something that had already changed both of them forever. What happens when the secret you buried refuses to stay silent? Emily tried to act normal, but Daniel could feel the shift. She watched him more closely now. She asked small questions that felt bigger than they sounded. "Did you talk to Mom while I was gone? Was everything okay here?" Her tone was calm, yet something underneath it trembled. Daniel answered carefully. "Not lies. Not full truth either. Just safe words." The house felt tight. Every room held tension. Claire had not contacted him since that night. Daniel told himself that was good. Clean. Final point. 3 days passed, then Emily suggested dinner at her mother's place. Daniel's chest tightened instantly. "Tonight?" "Yeah," Emily said. "She's been lonely." And I want to thank her for supporting me. He couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. Claire's house looked the same as always. Warm lights. Neat porch. Safe from the outside. But when Claire opened the door, her eyes met Daniel's for half a second too long. It was enough, Emily, Claire smiled warmly, hugging her daughter. I made your favorite pasta. Daniel stepped inside, feeling like he was walking into a memory he wanted erased. Dinner started normal. Emily talked about work. Claire listened. Daniel stayed quiet. He focused on his plate. Then Emily asked something unexpected. Mom, were you ever unhappy in your marriage? The question hung in the air. Claire's fork paused midair. Daniel's heart pounded. Why would you ask that? Claire replied gently. I don't know, Emily said. I've just been thinking about relationships. How people drift apart. Daniel felt exposed without anyone saying his name. Claire answered slowly. Every marriage has quiet seasons. The key is choosing to stay. Even when it's not easy. Her eyes flickered toward Daniel for a second. It felt like a message. Emily nodded thoughtfully. I've been distant lately. I know that. Work took over everything. Daniel finally spoke. We both got distant. It was the first honest thing he had said in days. Claire watched them carefully. There was sadness in her expression. Maybe regret. Maybe relief. After dinner, Emily went upstairs to look for an old photo album. She wanted pictures from her childhood. For the first time, Daniel and Claire were alone again. The silence was different now. Not electric. Not tempting. Just heavy. We shouldn't be here like this, Claire whispered. We're not doing anything, Daniel replied quietly. Sometimes thinking is enough, she said. He looked at her. She looked tired. Not dramatic. Just human. I care about her, Daniel said firmly. I don't want to hurt her. Then don't, Claire answered immediately. Footsteps sounded upstairs. They both stepped farther apart without meaning to. Emily returned smiling, holding a photo. Look at this, she laughed. Mom, you look so young here. Claire smiled naturally again. The moment vanished like it never existed, but it had existed. Later that night, back home, Emily lay beside Daniel and spoke softly in the dark. Do you ever feel like we're missing something? She asked. Daniel hesitated. Sometimes. She turned toward him. I don't want us to drift. He felt a wave of guilt so strong it almost forced him to confess everything. But what would he confess? A look? A feeling? A moment that never crossed a physical line. I don't want that either, he said instead. Emily reached for his hand. Then let's fix it. The next weeks felt like an effort. Date nights. Real conversations. Less phone time. More honesty. It felt hopeful. Real. Claire kept her distance. No texts. No calls unless necessary. She was respectful. Careful. Daniel began to believe the danger had passed until one afternoon when he received a message from an unknown number. It was a photo. Him and Claire at the cafe weeks ago. Sitting close. Talking. His blood went cold. Another message followed. Does your wife know? Daniel's mind raced. Who took this? Why now? He replied carefully. Who is this? No answer. His hands shook. The photo wasn't romantic. It wasn't inappropriate. But the angle made it look intimate. He deleted the message but knew that didn't erase it. That evening, Emily noticed his mood shift. Are you okay? Work stress, he lied quickly, but his mind was spiraling. If someone sent it to him, they could send it to Emily. The next morning, he drove to Claire's house without thinking. She opened the door, surprised. Daniel? He showed her the photo, her face drained of color. Who would do this? I don't know. They stood in shock. This is exactly what I feared, Claire whispered. Even if we did nothing, it looks like something. Daniel felt trapped. Maybe it's just a prank. Or a warning, she replied. His phone buzzed again. Another message. This isn't the only picture. Daniel felt the ground shift under him. Claire stepped back, shaken. You need to tell Emily before someone else does. The idea terrified him. Tell her what? That I had coffee with her mother? That you were confused, Claire said firmly. That you were human. He stared at her. And what about you? Claire's eyes filled with quiet pain. I'll take my part of the blame. He had never seen her look so vulnerable. For the first time, the situation felt bigger than feelings. It felt real. Dangerous. That evening, Emily came home early again. She seemed lighter. Hopeful. I got a call, she smiled. They're reconsidering the promotion. Daniel forced a smile back. His mind was elsewhere. His phone buzzed once more on the kitchen counter. Emily glanced at it casually, and before he could reach it, she picked it up. Her smile faded as she looked at the screen. The same unknown number. One new message, and this time, it wasn't just a photo. It was a simple sentence. Ask your husband why he keeps visiting your mother. What do you do when the truth is no longer yours to control? Emily's hand trembled as she held the phone. Daniel felt the room shrink around them. The message glowed between them like a fire. Ask your husband why he keeps visiting your mother. The silence stretched. Emily slowly lifted her eyes to Daniel. There was no anger yet. Just confusion. And hurt beginning to form. Why would someone send this? She asked quietly. Daniel swallowed. Running would only make it worse. Because I did go to your mom's house, he admitted. Her face changed. When? This morning. Why? He took a deep breath. Because someone sent me a picture. Of me and your mom at a cafe. It looked wrong. I panicked. Emily stepped back like the words had pushed her. A picture, she whispered. He nodded and handed her his phone. He showed her everything. The first photo. The messages. The threat. She stared at the screen. Her breathing grew uneven. Why were you at a cafe with her? Daniel didn't look away. We met once. To talk. About what? He could feel the edge now. About you. About how distant things felt. Emily blinked hard. You talked to my mother about our marriage? It wasn't like that, he said quickly. She was worried about you. We both were. She shook her head slowly. And you thought that was okay? He didn't answer fast enough. Tears filled her eyes. Not dramatic. Just heavy. Is there something between you? That question landed hard. Daniel stepped closer but didn't touch her. There was confusion. A moment. Nothing physical. Nothing happened. Emily closed her eyes as if trying to hold herself together. Confusion doesn't just appear. I know, he admitted softly. The room felt fragile. A knock on the door made both of them freeze. They weren't expecting anyone. Daniel walked to the door slowly. When he opened it, Claire stood there. She looked pale. Determined. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I think I know who sent those messages. Emily appeared behind Daniel. You knew? Claire's eyes filled with guilt. It's Mark. My neighbor. He saw us at the cafe. He has always been nosy. He took photos. I confronted him this afternoon after Daniel showed me. He got defensive. Emily stared at her mother. Why were you at a cafe with my husband? Claire didn't hesitate. Because I was worried about you. And because I crossed a line emotionally. The honesty shocked them both. Claire stepped inside. Nothing physical happened. But feelings can be dangerous even without actions. I let myself feel too close. That's my fault. Emily's lips trembled. You're my mother. I know, Claire whispered. And that's why I came. Before this grows into something uglier. Daniel watched silently. This was no longer his moment to speak. Claire continued. Mark thinks he's protecting you. But he's wrong. The only way to protect this family is with truth. Emily looked between them. Pain moved across her face like waves. You both talked about me. Behind my back, she said. Yes, Claire answered. Because we were worried. But we handled it wrong. Daniel stepped forward carefully. I should have come to you first. I was afraid. That's not an excuse. Emily wiped her tears quickly, almost angrily. Do you love her? The question stunned the room. Daniel answered without pause. No. He turned to Claire. I respect her. I care about her as your mother. But I love you. Claire nodded quietly. He's telling the truth. Emily's eyes searched his face. She wasn't looking for perfect words. She was looking for something real. Then why didn't you tell me sooner? She asked. Because I didn't want to hurt you, he said. You hurt me anyway. That landed deeper than anything else. Claire took a step back. This is where I leave. I've already done enough damage. Emily grabbed her arm gently. Mom. Claire looked at her daughter with tears she could no longer hide. I let loneliness confuse me. I'm sorry. Emily's voice broke. I needed you. Not this. Claire nodded. You still have me. Just not like before. I'll give you space. She walked to the door slowly. Before leaving, she looked at Daniel one last time. There was no romance in that look. Only regret. When the door closed, the house felt different. Not lighter. Just quieter. Emily sat down at the kitchen table. Daniel joined her. What now? She asked. Doc. He didn't rush his answer. Now we rebuild. Slowly. Honestly. If you want to. She looked at him carefully. I don't know if I trust you. That's fair. Another long silence passed. Finally, Emily said something unexpected. I've been distant too. Work became everything. I stopped checking in. I stopped listening. Daniel shook his head. That doesn't justify what happened. No, she agreed. But ignoring it won't fix us either. She took a deep breath. We need help. Counseling? He asked. She nodded. He agreed instantly. Yes. There was no dramatic hug. No instant forgiveness. Just two people choosing not to walk away. Over the next weeks, they faced uncomfortable truths. They talked about fear. About loneliness. About pressure. They learned how easily silence can grow into distance. Claire stayed away unless invited. She respected boundaries. She sent one simple message to Emily, I love you. I'll wait until you're ready. Mark stopped sending messages after Claire confronted him publicly about invading privacy. The threat faded, but the emotional impact remained. Trust didn't return overnight. It came in small pieces. In honest conversations. In shared effort. One evening, months later, Emily looked at Daniel across the dinner table and asked softly, Are we okay? He didn't pretend everything was perfect. We're healing, he answered, and this time, she believed him, because sometimes the greatest damage doesn't come from actions, it comes from silence, and sometimes, the only way forward is to face what almost destroyed you, and choose each other anyway.